Belgium is a country split between a Dutch-speaking north and a French-speaking south, who aren't exactly known for getting along with each other. Tensions between Flanders and Wallonia often make modern American politics look calm and civil, as can be seen by how often the country goes without a proper federal government and the frequent calls for independence. So, how did Belgium get into this situation? Why was it never split between France and the Netherlands? And how has it stayed together as one country? Now, given Europe's history and its oldness, it might be a little surprising to realize that the very idea of this area being a Belgium only dates back to around the late 18th century. And when it comes to something that started in late 18th century Europe, there's only one thing really to blame: 18th century Europe. While the modern nation draws its name from the Belgae, a collection of various tribes living in the area until they were conquered by Rome, in the centuries after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, as the local Latin began to evolve into Old French, and Frankish slowly evolved into the Low Franconian dialects, and French, this region fell between a newly formed France and the Holy Roman Empire. The HRE, as a messy patchwork of different smaller kingdoms and principalities all paying their dues to the emperor, was a veritable battleground of different noble houses, each trying to one-up their rivals in a massive game of, well, thrones. One family that saw a particular rise to power over the 15th and 16th centuries was the House of Habsburg, growing from a small castle in what is now northern Switzerland to control the thrones of a sizable portion of the empire by 1477, when the scattered principalities of the Low Countries too were incorporated under Habsburg rule. Now, if you want to learn more about how these territories in particular all came under the rule of the same dynasty, literally just play Crusader Kings or something like that. It's all just a bunch of strategic marriages and conquests. These territories passed down to Philip the Handsome, who honestly just looks kind of mid to me, who married Joanna of Castile, the daughter of Ferdinand II and Isabella I. You know, the Christopher Columbus people. Thus, Lord of the Netherlands and Duke of Burgundy, plus Queen of Castile and Leon, plus a son between them, equals Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, inheriting all these territories at once, resulting in the Low Countries falling under the Spanish crown. It's important to note, though, that the Netherlands were never part of Spain itself, but ruled by the Spanish monarch in a personal union. It's a very subtle difference, but still a difference all the same. The Dutch Republic would declare their independence in the late 16th century, sparking the 80 Years' War, a massive slog which eventually ended with the Peace of Münster, which saw the Dutch Republic officially recognized as an independent nation. Spain, however, held on to the southern part of the semi-formally Spanish Netherlands, around the areas we now call Belgium and Luxembourg, and it's here I think you can begin to see how we ended up with the half-Dutch, half-French mishmash that is modern Belgium. Barely 5 decades after that, however, Charles II of Spain died, leaving behind no children of his own, his autopsy revealing that the Habsburgs were already inbred enough. While Charles II gave the Spanish throne to the Bourbon Philip V in his will, Holy Roman Emperor Leopold I, himself a Habsburg, claimed the Spanish throne for his son Charles VI. With the prospect of a Bourbon monarch taking over Spain, especially at a time like the year 1700, this started the War of the Spanish Succession, which for our purposes today ultimately ended with both Spain and France ceding a bunch of territory to Austria, including what would soon become Belgium. Then, things would change across Central Europe, as always, because Napoleon. As part of the Congress of Vienna following Napoleon's defeat, I really feel like I'm getting deja vu from a lot of my previous videos here. Several states were carved out of the temporarily French territories, including Belgium, which was to be part of the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. However, strong differences between the Protestant Dutch and the Catholic Flemish and Walloons caused cracks between the North and South, cracks which would only widen over the 15 years both sides were united. King William I was seen by many in the South as an autocratic tyrant who ultimately favored the Netherlands over the then more populous Belgian provinces. To put his lack of popularity into perspective, in 1828 he was actually able to unite the Catholic and liberal parties against him. The liberals angry about a law restricting the freedom of the press, and the Catholics about William effectively giving himself the right to veto the election of bishops. This all came to a head with the Belgian Revolution, a largely lower and middle class revolt erupting in Brussels in late August of 1830, which by September had driven out Dutch forces. The revolution ended in July of 1831, with Belgium greeting the world stage as a brand new independent country. So the TLDR answer is basically that these areas sort of coalesced together under Habsburg rule, Then the Netherlands broke off in the 17th century, and then, to quote comments I've received from Belgians in response to my little joke in my similarly titled Gambia video, we hated our neighbors more than we hate ourselves. Admittedly, that's a far better explanation than I gave in my Google autocomplete video. Why does Belgium exist? I've been there twice and I still can't tell you. Belgium solidified as a nation throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. However, tensions would grow between the Flemish and the Walloons, lasting very much to this day. In 1980, in an effort to mediate these tensions, the country's 9 provinces were rearranged into 10, drawing a line between Flanders and Wallonia, who went from sort of esoteric historical areas to official legal regions. The regions were each divided into 5 provinces, with the capital Brussels as its own distinctly bilingual region, and also some Germans living in Wallonia, but no one in Belgium seems to care about them. Something I should also note though is that, while Dutch and French are the official languages of modern Flanders and Wallonia respectively, both communities also speak their own dialects of either tongue, with Flemish spoken in the north and Walloon commonly spoken in the south. But despite occasional and often overblown calls for independence from either side, Belgium, and in particular its capital Brussels, plays host to many important international organizations, such as the European Union and NATO. And while the country's linguistic diversity isn't the reason it was picked to be one of the EU's capitals, I've always found it kind of poetic that it is, both for the better and maybe for the worse too.